Malaysia versus Singapore. Which country does it better? One of them has a population of 32 million, while the other one has a population of only 6 million people. In this captivating video, we are going to be exploring the difference between the cultures and immerse ourselves in the difference in lifestyle, costs, people, and the stunning landscapes in both of these countries, and also the mouth-watering cuisines that define these two incredible Southeast Asian neighbors. Welcome to my channel, guys, and if you're new here, my name is Yad and I'm from the UK. I've been traveling around the world for the last 10 years, creating content around beautiful countries and places for you guys to visit. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any videos like this. But firstly, let's jump into some important facts about these two incredible countries. Now, let me just start off by saying that I spent a considerable amount of time in both of these countries, and I managed to explore so much whilst I was in both of these places. Hence why I feel like I would like to create this video to share with the world some of the beautiful things that we did, some amazing cuisines that we tried, and also what the people are like in both countries, as well as comparing some of the costs and what the lifestyle is actually like in these two magnificent countries. But firstly, as always with these videos, I have to dive in with how big and vast these populations are in these countries and the difference in power when it comes to the population and economically. Firstly, when it comes to Malaysia has a massive population of over 32 million people, which is just incredible. However, on the other spectrum, we've got Singapore with a population of only 6 million people. However, don't let that small number change your perspective of what Singapore is about. Singapore is one of the biggest powerhouses in the world in so many different fields, and we'll get into that in this video as well. Now, I want to start off with one of the things that is very important to mention with these two countries is that Malaysia and Singapore actually used to be one. Singapore was part of Malaysia from 1963 to 1965. A period marked by both hope and discord. The merger was driven by a shared vision of economic development and political stability, but it was short-lived. Cultural and political differences, exacerbated by racial tensions, ultimately led to Singapore's separation from Malaysia in 1965. This event, while initially met with uncertainty, proved the way for Singapore to become an independent nation, transforming itself from a struggling port city into a global economic powerhouse and a model of modern governance in Southeast Asia. Now, let's dive into some fascinating facts about these two countries. Now, firstly, let's jump into the cultural diversity. Firstly, with Malaysia is a cultural melting pot with a Malay, Chinese, Indian and indigenous influences. Singapore too is a multicultural hub with ethnicities from around the world coexisting harmoniously. And the great thing I'd like to mention about these two countries, they're both fantastic locations for expat communities. Me spending a considerable amount of time in Malaysia and Singapore, I do know this because I've met a lot of other British people that were living there, and also a lot of British and other people within Europe and Western countries going there to work and spend a considerable amount of time. And also some people that now call Malaysia and Singapore their home. Now, let's not also shy away from the fact that these two countries are urban marvels. And essentially what I mean by that is Singapore's modern skyline and futuristic architecture are world renowned, whilst Malaysia boasts impressive skyscrapers in Kuala Lumpur and Penang, creating the vibrant urban landscape. And let's not forget, Malaysia used to have the world's largest building in the world, which was the Petronas Towers, not too long ago, before Dubai came along and knocked it off the podium with the Burj Khalifa. And in these two countries, there is a historical significance. And firstly, Malaysia's history is a tapestry woven with ancient civilizations and colonial legacies. Singapore, as a former British colony, holds a rich historical heritage. And let's not forget how diverse and awesome the cuisines are in both of these countries. And I tried a lot of the different types of foods in Singapore and Malaysia, and I can't wait to dive into that a little bit more in this video. Malaysian cuisine is a tantalizing fusion of flavors from spicy laksa to savory nasi lemak. Singaporean food is equally iconic, also exotic, with dishes like Hainanese chicken rice and chili crab, captivating the taste buds. And trust me, that chili crab I had over in Singapore in the hotel I stayed in, it was delicious. Now, two things that Malaysia and Singapore share in common is that they're both economic powerhouses. Singapore ranks amongst the world's top financial centers, while Malaysia has a robust economy driven by manufacturing and natural resources. Now, these are just some important facts I wanted to share before getting into the comparison part. Feel free to drop in the comments below anything that you feel like I've missed out so far, because I love to read to see your views and opinions, because that's what the comment section is for. So leave it all in the comment section below. Now, it's time to jump into actually comparing these two incredible countries. Okay, so guys, now it's time to jump into number one, which is my experience with the people in both of these magnificent countries. So firstly, let's start off with Malaysia. In my visits to Malaysia, to be honest, I was touched by the warmth and friendliness of the locals. Personally, for me, I loved the fact of how diverse it was in Malaysia. From the fact that it had Chinese, Malay, and Indian, it was just incredible. At one point, you could be in Little India and you feel like you're over in Mumbai. And then you could go to Chinatown, which makes you feel like you are over in China. It was just such a great experience to have that mix, and almost like three countries in one. Now, that's one thing I really loved during my stay in Malaysia, is that diversity. But one thing I do have to say is I did feel that there was some division between the three different ethnicity groups, just with some experiences that I had when I was out and about. However, just like any country, no one is perfect, and I'm sure these are some things that are currently being worked on in Malaysia. Now, when it comes to Singapore, one thing you can say about Singaporeans, they're well known for their efficiency and multiculturalism. And engaging with the locals in this bustling city-state, to be honest, was also a bit of a breeze, and everybody spoke really good English, just like Malaysia as well. I forgot to mention that. The English in both of these countries were exceptional, so it was very, very easy for me and my wife to communicate. While some might say it's a bit more reserved, I always actually felt very welcome when I was in Singapore, especially in the hotel that I stayed in. They really treated me and my wife really, really well, and we had such a great time trying loads of different food, meeting a lot of the people that was in the hotel. It was just a very, very friendly environment. And even when we were out and about and I was like cycling on the street, the locals were always waving and just kind of willing to get involved and just say hi to foreigners, which was actually really, really nice. Now, during this video, I'm going to have a little score system to see which country does it better. And on this occasion, there is one for Singapore and one for Malaysia. So there is a draw here because, as I say, I had great experience in both of these countries with regards to the locals. Very, very warm feeling, very, very friendly, and I didn't have any issues at all. Guys, I'm excited to share something very, very special with you that I've been working on behind the scenes, and that is my content creation coaching program. Imagine a life where you can travel the world and get paid for it. Over the years, I've worked with some of the top brands around the world and stayed in some of the most prestigious hotels worldwide. I've grown my social media over 300,000 followers and received millions of views around the world across my social media platforms. And now I want to help you achieve the same results. In my 4-week one-on-one coaching program, I'll teach you the ins and outs of content creation and how to turn your passion for travel into a thriving career. If you're serious about changing your life and embarking on a content creation journey, send me a DM on my Instagram for more details, and we'll set up a one-on-one call via Zoom where I'll discuss all the options with you, what's included in the program, the cost, and what it entails. And guys, this is my Instagram. If you want to send me a DM about the program, it's just Yad_Ventures. Any questions you have or anything that you want to know more, just feel free to send it to me on DM. I get back to all my messages at least within 24 hours. Now, number 2 on the list is food. Now, with regards to food, guys, I'll start off with Malaysia. One thing I have to say about Malaysia that me and my wife loved so much was the diversity in cuisines. They literally had absolutely everything. If you wanted Malay food, they had it. If you wanted Middle Eastern food, Indian food, Chinese, literally they have everything. So that is one thing I loved very, very much. And of course, the famous nasi lemak, which I had over in Malaysia in Kuala Lumpur. I had on a few occasions. Very, very tasty dish and very, very nice. I actually Surprisingly, actually had it over in Chinatown was my best one. It was in a very unique restaurant, which I'll just link up here so you can see the name of it. And we had such a great experience there, trying great food. And also I just tried so many different types of cuisines when I was in Malaysia, from Indian, Malay, Chinese, even Arabic. It was just so incredible. And Malaysia's food scene is a true delight. The abundance of street food stalls offering dishes like char kway teow and Roti Canai is a foodie's dream. Each region offers its cultural gems, making it essentially a paradise for those who love to explore diverse flavors. Now let's jump into Singapore. Singapore's hawker centers are one of the most legendary things in Singapore, and also one of the things that a lot of travelers, when they go to Singapore, go to, because A, it's actually very affordable, and two, also very tasty. With culinary treasures at every corner, from the famous chicken rice to Michelin-starred street food vendors, Singapore's food culture is a gastronomical adventure waiting to be explored. And to be honest, I absolutely love the food in Singapore because, again, just like Malaysia, it was very diverse. But the hotel that we stayed in, which was Concord Hotel during our stay there, the staff that was essentially helping us with choosing what food to eat in the restaurants they had there, they basically had us trying so many different types of foods within the time that we were there. It was just a mouth-watering experience, and I must say I had this incredible crab dish, which was just so tasty, and I think it was crab and lobster. God, it was just so good. I'll leave the name just here, and hopefully you guys can tell me exactly what that was, but so good. It was just very tasty and delicious. Now, if I have to mark these two when it comes to food, surprisingly, a lot of you may be surprised, but I'm going to go with Singapore. So that's 2 to Singapore and 1 to Malaysia. Now let's move on to number 3 on the list, which is the costs. Malaysia is often praised for its affordability, from budget-friendly accommodation to wallet-friendly street food. It's an excellent destination for travelers looking to maximize their experience without breaking the bank. And one thing I have to say, that is one of the best things I loved about Malaysia, was the value for money. Your money can go so much further in Malaysia than it can a lot of other countries. And with that money, you get experiences that are actually of a very high level. When it comes to food, accommodation, experiences, things are generally very affordable. We stayed in a very decent, I would say, apartment, 2-bedroom apartment in the heart of Kuala Lumpur, which was literally right next to the Petronas Towers, about 10-minute walk or so, and that cost us roughly 800 euros, and that was including the bills. And we also had a gym downstairs and a 2-bedroom apartment in the heart of the city, which was just amazing. And on top of that, the food cost, which was just, again, very delightful. I mean, still very comparable to a lot of countries around the world. However, if you wanted to go out to like a lot of the street vendors and get some of the street food, or just some casual restaurants, you wouldn't be breaking the bank like you would be over in our neighbors, which is Singapore, which we're going to dive into right now. Now, one thing I have to say about Singapore, as we all know, it's probably one of the most expensive countries in the world. And it was really surprising at how expensive just basic food was. I mean, when me and my wife were there, we traveled over to Little India there, just to have a little comparison to Little India in Singapore and over in Malaysia. We went into a restaurant in Little India in Singapore, and the prices were just astronomically high. For like a butter chicken and rice, it was something along the lines of almost $20 for a basic curry dish per person, just for the curry and rice. And if you compare that to prices in Malaysia, literally is less than half. In Malaysia, that would have cost something around maybe $5 to $4 for in a quite a decent restaurant as well, and also very tasty. So that's just a little comparison. But generally, typically speaking, as we know, Singapore is all about luxury and lavish lifestyle. I mean, there are affordable places like the hawker centers and some of the market stalls. However, just overall, let's be honest, we all know how expensive Singapore is. Even if you haven't visited before, it's a well-known fact. Now, of course, you're not going to be surprised to hear that the accommodation was also, 2 to 3 times more expensive than Malaysia. Singapore, being a global financial hub, can be more expensive, and accommodation is, you're looking at anything between, I would say, $2,000 to $5,000 minimum for a half decent place over in Singapore. Now, correct me if I'm wrong for any of the Singaporeans watching. Maybe you can tell me that there are other areas for more affordable price, but when I was looking online, typically these are the prices that I saw as a minimum. So now I'm going to score both of these countries on points, and I think it's obvious to say who is the winner here. Personally, it's Malaysia, and that is another reason why I love Malaysia so much, is because of how affordable it is. So Malaysia wins it on this occasion. Now let's move on to number 4 on this list, and that is the scenery and the beautiful landscapes that both of these countries have. Now on this occasion, let's start off with Malaysia. And Malaysia's natural beauty is breathtaking, from lush rainforests of Borneo to idyllic beaches to beautiful beaches of Langkawi. And even within the city itself, it's so beautiful and green. They've got lush gardens next to the Petronas Towers, and they've got a beautiful bird park literally right in the heart of the city, where it hosts literally hundreds of different species of birds. And it's just a great little getaway and a day out where you can enjoy with the family and friends. And that's one thing I really love of Malaysia, is that it is really family friendly. There's so much to do with the family, or there's so much to do with friends if you even wanted to. It just caters for everybody. And when it comes to its landscapes, it just doesn't fail. It's just such a beautiful country, because we went to quite a few places. We were visiting there for a while, so we went to a lot of beautiful places. We went to Genting Highlands, which was just incredible. We woke up in the morning, and there was the hotel that we stayed in looked over my balcony, and we had kind of the clouds, which were literally just over all of the city. You could see it from a distance. It was just such a beautiful sight to wake up to, and you just feel the true nature of Malaysia when you go into places like Genting Islands. The other places that we went to Malaysia was Berjaya Hills, Colmar Tropical Berjaya Hills. It was just basically like this small French fantasy town that was built literally like in the mountains and forests of Malaysia. It was roughly about an hour away from Kuala Lumpur and very close to Genting Islands. So if you kind of wanted to do a day trip from Colmar Tropical, you could go from there all the way to Genting Islands. It won't take you too long, but it was like a beautiful fantasy in the middle of a forest. But when we went there, it was raining, but it kind of added to the beauty and the nature of Malaysia. Now, when it comes to Singapore, despite its small size, Singapore has transformed urban spaces into stunning green oases. And one thing I have to say I loved so much of Singapore was, of course, Gardens by the Bay. It really is such a special place. If you ever do go to Southeast Asia and you have a chance to go to Singapore, you have to go and just take a long, beautiful walk down there when it's not too hot, of course, because it can get extremely hot in Singapore. It's just such a great experience to walk through the lush gardens and enjoy that experience. One thing I have to say with Singapore, I felt it was more of a city hustle and bustly life than it was so much on the nature side. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, if there's anybody from Singapore that believes otherwise. I mean, maybe I didn't manage to explore enough of Singapore like I did Malaysia when it comes to landscapes and beautiful sides to it, but mainly we spent a lot of time in the city. We didn't really manage to explore as much of Singapore as we did as Malaysia. So if you guys do have any recommendations for Singapore to see some beautiful landscapes and other places instead of the city, please feel free to leave it in the comments below as well. I'd love to go there on my next visit. And the winner on the scenery has to be Malaysia for me. So it looks like Malaysia overall has won it when it comes to the scoring system. However, it doesn't mean that that's also your decision. I still love Singapore and I also love Malaysia, but I'm just giving it kind of a little scoring system on my recent experience in both of these countries. It doesn't truly mean that my view is the real view. End of the day, it's just my experiences when I stayed in both of these places, and to be honest, that could change in the future. Whenever I visit Singapore again in the future, I may see some parts that I never saw on my first visit, or I may go back to Malaysia and Singapore and feel like, or I score them equally. And one thing I do want to leave this with is a big thank you to the people of Malaysia and a big thank you to the people of Singapore for hosting me and my wife and giving us such a beautiful and incredible time in both of your countries. It was so nice to just be able to take a coach from Malaysia to Singapore. And that's something I forgot to mention earlier in this video. The transport was just seamless. We took a very nice, they call it luxury bus, all the way to Singapore, which was just a great experience. We had these reclining chairs where we sat back and relaxed. If you want to go check out the video of that experience, please do go check it out. I'll leave all the details of the Malaysia and Singapore series in the description box below. So if you want to go watch some of those videos that we created, they're very high quality and we put a lot of love into those videos. So please do go and check them out as well. Now again, guys, personally, I've cherished my experiences in both Malaysia and Singapore, and I look forward to further exploration in these two incredible countries. I would love for you guys to also share your views in the comments below. Of course, be kind to one another, but you're open to share any opinion you want. And I can't wait to read them, to hear what you guys also think, which country truly does it better. And guys, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because it really does help this channel. And also you guys will be able to see more of these type of videos, because YouTube will start to recommend them for you, and also videos all around the world that I make. So guys, I will see you on the next video, and peace out and good night.